Hello everyone and welcome back to my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode Season Round 11 for the Austrian Grand Prix. We start off with the weather forecast. You can see it starts off dry, goes to intermediates, then full wets, eventually back to dry and then back to intermediates at the end. So this could be a very interesting race in terms of strategy as we get to that. But first, after practice, we grab a tyre wear upgrade, major going on the car in a few weeks' time. But anyway, it'll be a very interesting race. Qualifying could be very important if it does rain a lot throughout the race. Overtaking could be difficult. So let's get into qualifying, see what we can do as we join our first flying lap in Q1. This has always been a great track for me, the Red Bull Ring. Back in F1 2018, it was the site of my first win, so I've always gone very well here throughout my playthroughs of this game. So let's hope that can continue today and we can bring home a good result in this car. So around the final corner to finish our first flying lap, and we go P4 as it stands. A lot of cars still yet to set times, and at the end of the session we drop down, but we still get through in P13, so a great effort to get up there. I will raise the difficulty since we got through relatively easily with a less than stellar lap. Nicholas Latifi, Guan Yu Zhou, George Russell, Danny Kvyat, Romain Grosjean and Lance Stroll knocked out. Stroll really struggling in that Racing Point. Perez not really doing that great compared to where you might expect. But anyway, as we go on to our first flyer of Q2, we have raised the difficulty going into this session, and now we need to really put the hammer down to see what we've got compared to at the higher AI setting, and see if we can maybe advance to Q3. I'm not too optimistic about Q3, but we may just be able to do it. As I said, Austria has always been a great track for me, so it's not impossible to drag this car out of Q2. So as we continue through to the final sector, getting through this lap very cleanly actually. I'm quite happy with the way this lap went. Only the final two corners to go. These are the two that I typically struggle with, but we pretty much nail the second to last corner. The last corner running a little bit wide, but nothing too bad, and as we come across the line, we're going to go P4 once again in qualifying. As we continue to the end of the session, we drop down to P7, but we are through into Q3. Also through, interestingly, is Kimi Räikkönen, so he did a great job in the Alfa Romeo as well to get through. Sainz, Giovinazzi, Ocon, Perez, Gasly and Magnussen knocked out in this session. So yeah, interesting to see what is happening. Verstappen and Hamilton get through on the medium tyres, so it'll be interesting to see how their strategies play out throughout the race. But yeah, we're locked in to start on the softs, so let's get into this final session and see where on the grid we'll qualify. We've bumped up the difficulty quite considerably after getting through in P7. We missed the apex of the first corner there just a little bit, and we are already losing time to the first lap that we set on this set of tyres. But the first lap had a few mistakes in it, and you can see on the exit of turn 3 we are already gaining some of that time back. So we'll have another flyer at the end of the session on a brand new set, but currently we're just doing 2 consecutive laps on these tyres, as the first lap was not representative, I think. So as we continue on, this lap has come through fairly cleanly so far. As we head into the final sector, this is the sector I've been struggling with a little bit throughout qualifying, running wide through the last corner and missing the apex of this penultimate corner, but getting through there quite cleanly this time, and even through the final corner, slightly wide but nothing too crazy. And as we come towards the line, it will only be P10 at this point, so we go again on a brand new set of tyres, but we're not improving, not even close, as we're desperately smashing through the final few corners over the curbs, but there's just no time improvement. We let the other car there go past to finish their lap, but anyway, it's P10.
And with qualifying complete, let's review our top three today. Bottas, Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. Goodbye for now then, but we're really just getting started. Make sure to join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
And yeah, we're a long way off, even Kimi Räikkönen, so yeah, not a great Q3, but let's get into the race.
This is it then, race day in Spielberg for this year's Austrian Grand Prix. The grandstands were a sea of red in 2019 thanks to the commemorative hats in honour of the late great Niki Lauda, who took home victory of course back in 1984. And it's a sellout crowd once again here today. It's one of the shortest laps on the calendar today then, with 7 rights and just 3 lefts, making up the 10 corners of this high-speed circuit. Turn 2 is barely a corner at all. They'll be flat out through there, a left-hand kink into the uphill braking zone of turn 3. Turns 1, 3 and 4 are all potential opportunities to overtake. And I'm joined once again by Anthony Davidson to bring you the lowdown for today's race. Now, let's talk about Sergio Perez. There's a new gearbox in the back of that car, which means a grid penalty, and hopefully some excitement as they make their way through the field.
Well, at the end of the day, it's always better to take some pain now than parking it up halfway through the Grand Prix. Let's just hope they can put that new gearbox to good use and get the results they're looking for.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Leclerc, Verstappen, Sebastian Vettel and Albon, Raikkonen, Norris, Ricciardo and the scientist, Sainz, Giovinazzi, Esteban Ocon and Gasly, Stroll, Grosjean, Daniel Kvyat and Sergio Perez. Russell, Joe, Magnussen, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty, and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway.
You have a good chance of getting a points position today.
We do indeed. 2 softs to the mediums will not be our strategy. These soft tyres will last until the rain comes in around about 10 minutes time, as we go to the 5 red lights. And the lights are out. We are underway for the Austrian Grand Prix. Lando Norris weaving around as Albon's got a bad start. We're going to try to go to the outside of Daniel Ricciardo. He moves across to the outside, blocks off that window as we go 3 wide with Norris and Albon, and we just about squeeze through around the outside of them. Vettel has lost out on the start as well, as Ricciardo's got around the outside of him. It's been a superb start for Ricciardo. Vettel back down the inside of Ricciardo, who moves under the braking zone. Vettel and Ricciardo weaving around, and Vettel is pinched on the apex. He gets a bad exit. We're around the outside with the momentum.
That's a strong start. Well done.
And we'll see if we can squeeze through ahead of Vettel. We might actually get Ricciardo here with some more momentum on our side, down the inside of Ricciardo into turn 4, and we just about get the car turned and move ourselves ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. Kimi Räikkönen has also had a great start, moving himself up into 4th position at the moment. He's got ahead of Max Verstappen and a few other cars off the line as well. So it's been a great start for the 2 of us. Hopefully Verstappen can hold up, hopefully Räikkönen can hold up Verstappen in the early stages of this race, and we may be able to stay in contention with Verstappen throughout this race. We'll see how that goes for us, but right now Verstappen is having a look, not close enough to make a move, as Vettel equally was very close behind us as we exit the first corner, and we may be needing to defend here as we look to the inside. Vettel though straight past, and there's nothing we can do about that. We just slot him behind and let him run his own race. There's no point fighting.
Try to stay with him. He might make a mistake. He could still regain the position.
With Ferrari, they're way faster than us. So yeah, we just let him do his own thing. But Raikkonen is still holding up this train to the point where we can get back down the inside of Vettel, a long way back, but we get the move done. as Vettel is a little bit beached on the curb on the outside. DRS for us to help us pull away, but that was a nice move on the Ferrari driver, and yeah, he got a really bad exit there. It must have just been he was stuck on the curb, but he was stuck in behind Verstappen and Raikkonen, and yeah, that's really helped us stay in the fight with Vettel and Verstappen.
Understood, stopping this lap.
But it's time to pit because the rain is coming down, and on the 6th lap of this race we will not need these soft tyres anymore. They are no more use to us, and yeah, we'll come in, put the inters on, and try to push on in this race as we get those new tyres on. That's Hamilton there right in front of Kimi Raikkonen, so
Okay, stay clear of the white line on the exit. We'll receive a penalty for dangerous driving if you cross over into the track.
the double stack for Mercedes very nearly costing Lewis Hamilton very dearly there, but he just about got away with it and got out ahead of Kimi Raikkonen. But yeah, that could have been a disaster because Max Verstappen couldn't overtake Kimi Raikkonen. Hamilton likely would have had a lot of trouble as well, but lucky him, he just about got away with it. But we are now right behind Kimi Raikkonen. We have jumped Max Verstappen actually, so he may have got held in the pit lane in the earlier phases. Meanwhile, Nicholas Latifi is still on the dry tyres, struggling to get through this lap. He's doing a superb job.
Nice move, good job.
To keep the car on the road at all, let alone with any kind of pace. But he's going to lose out massively, pitting a lap too late here, as we're going to go 3 wide with Raikkonen and Magnussen as we head into the penultimate corner. Magnussen still on the slick tyres as well, and we get through on the 2 of them. That was a little bit sketchy, not sure what Magnussen was doing, but yeah, that could have been a disaster. Thankfully we got away with it. Oh, Latifi goes for a spin off of the rear wheel of Ricciardo as he lost the back end. So a good effort to oh, Guan Yu Zhou, great reactions there to stop the car as Latifi was parked on pit entry there. Latifi eventually finds his way back into pit lane, but a spin there for the Canadian. He was trying to get into pits, he just lost the back end under braking into the pit lane. Very easy to do in these conditions, and yeah, probably not a wise move to park on the apex of the corner. He was completely off the track, but he just reversed back onto the track in front of Guan Yu Zhou. So unfortunate for my teammate losing a bunch of time there, but luckily he had enough time to react and not smash into the side of the Williams. As we anyway continue on, nothing really happened in that stint. It's now time to come in for the full wet tyres in this race. Right in front of us, that was Lewis Hamilton. So he hasn't really gotten away from us in this race through the intermediate stage as we get going once again. So
Look after these tyres now. We want to finish the race on this compound.
yeah, we could be potentially in contention to race with Hamilton if anything goes our way later on. He seems to be lacking a bit of pace. Bottas is flying. He's gaining a lot of time versus the 2 of us. He's a very long way up the road, but Lewis Hamilton seems to be struggling quite a lot as we find ourselves behind Latifi once again. But this time he is a lap down, but
Bottas is up in first place.
he really tries to put up a fight as we just about get down the inside, but we run wide. Latifi gets back through, and Latifi is really fighting for this position with us, but eventually we should be able to get the move done. Had a little look up the inside into the penultimate corner. We still can't get past Latifi. He is destroying this little battle we had with Hamilton. We seem to actually have some pace over Hamilton before, but Latifi has really ruined that one for us, and eventually we managed to get past on the main straight, but Latifi really not on my side today. But yeah, again, not much happened in that stint, and eventually...
Looks like it's probably about time we change tyres. It's a bit of a crossover period for sure, but the longer we stay out, the worse it's going to get.
Exactly, eventually it's time to go back to the intermediate tyres. Hamilton actually fed a lap earlier, but I was unaware that it was time to go back to the intermediate tyres. I kind of missed the boat on that one. So,
Release.
yeah, my bad. Hamilton got the undercut. That might be the end of our battle with Lewis Hamilton in this race. If Latifi wasn't before, that will be now, as we are now a very long way behind him. And we will look back to Max Verstappen. And I'll just add that Kimi Räikkönen was my best friend throughout this race, holding up Verstappen for a long time. So it will be a while before he catches up to us, but eventually, again, nothing happened in that stint, and we come in to go back onto the dries. It is still raining, but Jeff's telling me that it is time for the dry tyres, and we are not the only team to be switching to the dries, so that is clearly the way to go. So onto the soft tyres we go. Remember from the weather forecast,
One stop left in this strategy.
the soft tyres will probably last long enough to go to the next period of rain at the end of the race, I would imagine. So
The car in front is 11.0 seconds.
that is the gap to Lewis Hamilton, who's trying to close up to Charles Leclerc in the dry conditions. He's found some pace again, has Hamilton, but yeah, Verstappen also with some pace in this one now. But yeah, these tyres probably should last us until it starts raining again, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's been a fairly boring race, but Hamilton maybe has an issue here, because he is slow coming out of the final corner, and he is out of the race with mechanical failure. Lewis Hamilton will not finish the Austrian Grand Prix. He retires at the final corner. Here we go, passing Hamilton and up onto the podium in this race. That is unbelievable for us, as we haven't really... I feel like we haven't really done anything extraordinary. We just found our way into this position, but one man who could potentially ruin that for us is Max Verstappen, because he has finally caught up. He's been catching by about a second a lap, and here he goes trying to make the overtake down the inside, and he's just going to get that done. We'll switch to the inside, back down the inside of Max Verstappen into turn 3, squeeze through, and we'll get the move done and back up into third position for us. That was a very, very tight move on the inside, but we do manage
We're going to box this lap, push hard on the in-lap.
to stay ahead of him. We will not box on this lap. That was just a notification that the soft tyres are wearing out. But seeing as it's going to be raining again and we'll need to box for Inters soon, we will not be doing that, as Verstappen has a bit of a lose there. But we try to have a switch back, and it might work for us, as he is very compromised on the exit, and we'll get back through on Max Verstappen. He's very slow on the exit there. I actually thought he might have had a problem for a second, but no, he's fine. He just compromised his own line so much so on the inside there, and we found our way back through. So we're able to fight with Verstappen, it seems. But we'll see how long that lasts as he goes down the inside into the penultimate corner this time, a different place to try and overtake. So see if that yields different results for him as we run wide through the final corner. We've got the DRS, so on the run to turn 3, can we make the move back on Max Verstappen? We'll have a big dive down the inside into turn 3, and we'll try to get a stop. Verstappen will get the switch back though, but he can't.
Nice work, that brings you up a place. Check your MFD for a new strategy option.
And again, he gets a bad exit, even though we were the ones with the compromised line. But anyway, we eventually come through to the pit lane. It's time for the intermediate tyres to finish off this race. And unfortunately for us, Guan Yu Zhou pit on the previous lap. He's almost a lap behind us. And we're going to have a slow pit stop. Verstappen is just going to go rolling on past. And all that fighting is all for nothing in the end. Verstappen gets through. DRS is now disabled, and we have no real way of re-overtaking the Dutchman. DRS was really the only chance we had. That's gone now, but we'll see. Maybe our car will come alive in these conditions like it did the first time in the first stint of intermediates. That would be ideal for us, but we'll see. But for now, I'm not holding out too much hope. That slow pit stop has really burnt any chance we had of a podium, as we find our way past George Russell, who's fighting as well. So the Williams car's not really wanting to go a lap down to us, it seems, but we eventually pass him.
You coping okay in this weather? We're watching the amount of standing water on the road. For now, we think it's safe to stay with the Inter.
Interesting. So if you read between the lines there, it may be a switch to the wets somewhere soon. There's 14 laps to go. It's not too long, but we'll see.
Inters seem like the fastest tyre for now.
Inters are fastest at the moment. The other interesting thing is we have somewhat kept up with Max Verstappen, as we get a little bit held up by Latifi, lapping him again, being a tough old race for the Canadian in his debut season, but he's done a decent job so far, but not a great race today, unfortunately for him. But yeah, we've kept up with Verstappen reasonably well, so if we were ahead and we didn't have that slow pit stop, I think we could have held on for third, as we now put our teammate a lap down. He obviously lost a lot of time, stuck behind Latifi when he spun off the road. So yeah, he's had a pretty tough race as well, but as we continue through the rest of this race, penultimate lap of the race as we lap Danny Kvyat, we completely misjudged
Bottas is leading the race.
The run into the final sector, what am I saying, the middle sector, and yeah, got off the road. So yeah, that was a bit of bad driving, but no real problem to us. Carlos Sainz is running in fourth at the moment. He's a long way back, and yeah, Ricciardo fifth. Decent run for
This is
him.
your final lap of the race.
Haven't seen much of Vettel and Albon this race after they both got bad starts. They never really came back through, so very weird to see for them. But Valtteri Bottas is going to come across the line to win the Austrian Grand Prix. Great race from him. Charles Leclerc is a very distant second place. Max Verstappen looks to be able to hold on for third at the moment, as we start to catch up to Danny Kvyat once again on the run towards turn 4. Are we going to be able to get past him here? Kvyat releases the throttle, lets us go on our way. This time we're going to make sure we get the car slowed down for the corner. We leave a little bit of space on the inside in case he was still there, but he backs out sufficiently, and we can continue on our merry way towards the final sector. And there are only a few corners between us and what will be another fantastic bunch of points for this team. At this point in the career, another fourth place is huge. We had a podium a few races ago. That was very lucky, given a strategical mistake by Ferrari. This one was done on pace as we round the final corner, and we're going to come across the line for P4.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
Crazy stuff. Driver of the day goes to Carlos Sainz. Fair enough. He started outside the top 10, finished up 4th, 5th even.
Smiling faces on the pit wall after a superb win here in Spielberg, and rightly so. A brilliant effort from the whole team. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, keeping their tyre temperatures up in the tricky wet conditions was really important. There's not much grip out there at the best of times, and it's 10 times worse if you're out there on cold tyres. So the way they kept the rubber in its proper operating window was a huge advantage today.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today.
So it's Valtteri Bottas who takes the race win. Charles Leclerc ends up P2. Max Verstappen takes 3rd.
And after this round of the World Championship, Here's how things look in the driver's table. Not the result our points leader wanted, but it certainly makes things interesting going forward. Some amazing talent out on the track today, but Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
Carlos Sainz would be my first choice for this race. He had excellent race stamina, giving him the opportunity to charge through the ranks.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. I can't wait to see what's next.
So, there we have it. The Austrian Grand Prix of 2020. P4 for us. Unbelievable. Look at the start from Bottas. Hamilton was struggling really from the beginning of the race. And yeah. He just never had a chance, did Hamilton. He had no pace throughout the race and then didn't even finish in the end. That is a huge swing in favour of Bottas in the Drivers' Championship, as we had to cut across Vettel slightly there to get down the inside of Ricciardo. Didn't quite realise what that looked like from the outside when I did it at the time. You really only tend to focus on the cars in front at the start of a race, but got away with it. But anyway, yeah, very, very decent race for us. I'm very happy with the way that one played out. Next up is Silverstone, another favourite track of mine. So we're getting some good momentum in the middle of this season. France was a bit of a bad one, but yeah, Canada went well, this track went well. So yeah, and the sort of weird part is that we didn't really do anything too crazy. There was no safety cars, there was no you know, weird strategies. We did the same thing as everyone else, but what I think made the big difference is Kimi Räikkönen. I think I mentioned it during the race that he was holding up Max Verstappen and a whole bunch of cars behind him for a long time in this race. So yeah, that really helped us out to stay ahead of a bunch of faster cars. Otherwise the likes of Sainz and the rest of them would have been a lot closer. And the other thing, the reason we probably didn't see much of Vettel and Albon, they would have had to double stack behind their teammates every time tyre changes were required. So yeah, there's that too. So a little bit lucky, but at the end of the day, we got there on pace alone. So that's crazy. But anyway, let's get into the interviews.
Great work out there today. Let's have your thoughts. You were cutting your way through the field during the race.
Yeah, it was really solid race, especially right at the start with some good car placement. We managed to gain a lot of positions on the first lap.
You're surpassing all expectations. Can anything or anyone stop you?
When we get to Hungary.
Interesting result today. Would you say that you're happy with your performance?
Oh, I'm very, very happy with the race, with the way the race played out today. We had good strategy, good tyres, good car, good speed, and yeah, very, very happy.
The weather was miserable today, but do you feel this was an advantage for you?
I actually think it was. I think the rain played quite well to the strengths of our car, and yeah, it really helped us achieve this result.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Claire. So, that's that. Rivalry, we gain another 2 points on Pierre Gasly, 11-7. We are smashing him in this one so far. I thought he'd be a tougher rival than Magnussen, but hasn't really turned out that way so far. He is in a faster car though, which is interesting. Anyway, I guess we've been a bit lucky with the podium in Canada, but nonetheless, we get a $640,000 from the sponsors. Not a lot from that screen. We both managed to damage the car, it seems, during that race. I did get a bit of front wing damage at some point. I don't know where that came from. Potentially just curbs, but anyway, let's get into the headquarters and finish off the episode. So firstly, driver contracts are up and we need to renegotiate with Guan Yu Zhou. Unfortunately, did not ever realize at any point in the last few episodes that this moment was coming up, and I didn't actually save any money, so we can't actually afford to re-sign Guan Yu Zhou. So we need a new driver. So that pretty much leaves us with any of the F2 drivers. I was slightly worried that my only option would be Mahavir Raghunathan, but thankfully there's quite a few that we can afford with 1.5 mil, though we can't go with the low risk option on the negotiation screen. So we are going to go for Nobuharu Matsushita. He's done a good job in the F2 season that I've been doing, so clearly he's got some very good pace. So yeah, that is the option I'm going with. Other than that, I also think, I don't know, he was the driver that I originally was going to sign before I even got the game, but unfortunately he was not an option on the list that I was given, so I ended up signing Guan Yu Zhou. So it's a good thing in a way. If you actually look at their stats, they're actually very, very similar. In overall rating, Matsushita is one lower, but experience is the same, racecraft is the same, awareness is the same, but he's got more pace. So how that works, not entirely sure. But anyway, I guess Guan Yu Zhou's stats are affected by all those +5s, so that increases his overall rating. But those +5s will carry over to Matsushita because they're from the facilities. So it's a win all round. We don't lose any, experience, pace, or racecraft, or awareness, but we gain 4 pace on our second driver. So yeah, there's really no downside. He's cheaper as well. So yeah, it's a win-win.
Here, you can make an offer to your driver. The more you offer, the greater the chance of them agreeing to it. But be careful not to insult drivers though. If you do, they might refuse to deal with you anymore in this negotiation period.
So $1.5 million later, just like that, welcome to the team, Nobuharu Matsushita. Activity timeline now. We will first do driver promotion filming. That will help out our own driver acclaim. So that's always a plus. Next up, G-Force training for Matsushita. That will improve his racecraft, get some overtakes in the coming races. Next up, the Invitational, and then a 4-day sponsor advertisement that will help out our team acclaim and generate a bit of money for us as well. We had a durability upgrade fail, so we'll have to fix that in the future. And now we go to the Invitational Event.
Here we are then, the calm before the storm, as we wait for this field of iconic cars to burst into life for the historic Invitational Event today. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to be here, and welcome along to all of you at home as well. So grab a cup of tea and get ready as our competitors make their final preparations.
So here we are in the 1988 McLaren, I believe the oldest car in the game, not 100% sure on that. The very old classic cars unfortunately did not make it across from F1 2019, with things like the 1972 Lotus and Jody Scheckter's Ferrari, etc. Not making the jump to F1 2020 unfortunately, but this car is still pretty old and very difficult to drive as such, as we completely throw it off the track at the final corner. The irony is through the roof, but we just about managed to cross the line in time and get the money and the acclaim for finishing the event. So that's all that matters really. But other than that, there's not really too much to add. So I will say thank you very much for watching this video to the end, and I will see you next time for the round in Silverstone. Goodbye.